Hi guys, Chris the Non-Pro Wine Guy here. I wanted to take a brief video to show you exactly what I've done so far and what I still have to do in my winery so that you get a good idea of what it's going to take to set up yours at home, whether you're doing a full winery like me or maybe you're going to do a partial one in your kitchen or garage. So the first thing I want to talk about is something I think is overlooked a lot in home winemaking, and that's the environment in which we make our wine. It's very important to me to choose a space that is relatively easy to keep a constant temperature and is pretty easy to keep clean and dry through our entire process. For me, I chose a cinder block basement. The reason I chose this basement was because it stays relatively cool here in the summer, and in the wintertime it stays about the same temperature. I was able to update the walls with a basement waterproof paint, and I updated the floors with some epoxy finish. I'm going to be able to use this hose to spray down the entire area as things get messy and be able to remove any organic material, whether that's grape juice or sugar or anything else that bacteria might like to eat, and wash it right down a drain. And then I'll use a squeegee to push the rest of the water down too so that I keep it dry. Next, I want to talk about my fermentation station, as I've been calling it in my notes, and that's over here. So I bought myself a conical fermenter, and I'm really excited about it because it's clear. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a time-lapse camera, and I'm going to show you exactly how yeast interact with fruit juice as it ferments and what happens as things start to fall out of solution towards the end of fermentation. Next, you'll see my comically large potato masher over here. This is what I use for punch downs. I always recommend that people buy potato mashers. It's a little cheaper way to go than buying the punch down tools that you can get online. The next thing I'll show you is this is a tool rack that has to go on the wall here behind me that's still on my to-do list, but it's going to hold my cat management tool and my broom and mop and squeegee. Over my left shoulder here are two buckets that I use for cleaning. Those two buckets will hold a sodium percarbonate solution and a citric acid solution. Sodium percarbonate is the same thing as OxyClean. It's great for cleaning up general area. And citric acid is going to take that base and make it back to a neutral pH. That way that our bacteria don't have a favorable environment for them to grow up in. Next thing I want to show you is here over my right shoulder, as we adjust the camera, is my wine rack. My wine rack is not complete yet. It's also on my to-do list. I have the diagonal support pieces and we have to fill it up with wine still, obviously. I'm really excited to have a wine rack down here because what we're going to do is we're going to fill it up with wine real soon. As you can see underneath of my wine rack, I've designed it so that it fits a 5-gallon carboy pretty much perfectly. There's enough room there for an airlock if I choose to ferment down there, or I can bulk age my wine in 5-gallon carboys down there, which is pretty exciting. So, moving around this direction, I want to show you my workbench. My workbench is set up to have two stations on it. This one over here is my chemistry station. Hold on, bear with me for some lighting. This one here is my chemistry station, and it is set up to have all of my testing equipment and all of my tests inside of these drawers here. Here I have my chemistry drying rack. That's where my graduated cylinder and all of my tubing is set up. As you can see, I've got some things drying there now. Next, if you look over my right shoulder, you'll see this is where I'm doing most of my wine starting. So I have yeast and yeast nutrients. I have bentonite in there. So a lot of pieces and parts of the additions to wine are currently inside of this here. As you can see down here, I have some bucket storage. That's for starting wine. I'll teach you more about starting wine later. And then over here, I have some bottles and my filter. So this is what's going on inside of my winery. This is what I feel is kind of the necessities of winemaking. I think that it's really important to figure out what exactly you want to do and kind of start there. Along the way, I have some experiments that I want to do. I want to upgrade some fermenters into different styles that I want to show you. And then I really want to start kind of getting into true winery equipment as we move through this process. So stick with me through this and we'll get to that point sometime. But until then, send me any questions that you have about choosing the right space inside of your house and let me know what it's going to take for you to get started in this process. Until then, cheers.